All right, so welcome back. Super excited for today's show. We have Gualter Amarelo. Hey, Gualter, how you doing?
Good, Jason. Excited to be here, brother.
I'm excited to have you. And so Gualter uses all of his experience as an entrepreneur, real estate investor, and student of the mind to help aspiring wealth builders quickly learn the 52 wealth principles that will help build their empire within 3 to 5 years. He's on a mission to build 100 self-made millionaires who will be inspired to pay it forward and build 100 more millionaires. Man, that's super impactful, right? So you think about that 100 millionaires right there, but it doesn't stop there, right? It's empowering other people to help go pay it forward to build 100 more, right? And so each person 100 more, 100 more. You think about just how that can resonate across society and take point. Where was the pinnacle moment that you said, I need to pay this forward? What was it that started this process, started yourself onto the 52 wealth principles? Where did that idea generate from?
It's crazy. It actually started in 2015 when I was completely broke. So I had nothing, and I went to an event that changed my life. And I saw the speaker on stage. He was, I made 17,000 that year, and I made a commitment to make 100,000. I actually hit it using the wealth principles that T. Harv Eker had put into Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. But he only had 17. And I've, since read 350 books since then. And about 2 years ago, I realized that there are more than just the main principles, because everybody talks about the 7 or the 3 or the 6 or 5 and 12. And I put out all the micro principles that are really, really important. And I just finally mapped them out. And I said, man, like this is the truth. Like this is really what it takes to be successful. But there's a lot. And I said, if there was a principle delivered a week, then it would create more wealth for people and get people going. But it was about around the same time, 2 years ago, where the question was posed to me. My net worth was around maybe $1 million or 1.5. And I was like thinking, what do I do next? Like, what do I do next? How do I really find purpose? And my girlfriend had asked me, she said, what do you really want to do? What do you think would really give you purpose if it was the last thing you could do on this planet? And really, like that was it. You had one shot. I said, well, if I could teach people wealth, if I could teach people how to build wealth. And she said, well, how much is enough? And I said, well, I think $1 million is a good base. So I was like, okay, if I could build millionaires, that'd be cool. And then I told her, I was like, but it's not a real goal. Cause smart, everything has to have a number to it. And so she's like, how many? And I was like, dude, 100. I'll build 100 millionaires. And I was giving myself 3 to 5 years. And then earlier this year, I said, dude, 100 is just, I could do this in a year if I really stretch myself, if I really push and I reach a lot of people. So now I'm aiming to do it in a year, which, man, it's stretching me. Jason, that's why we're on a podcast right now.
That's the best goals, right? So the ones that stretch you, right? Because when we get comfortable with that, that's what puts us in a place where we look back 10 years from now and said, how did I get here, right? It's the things that stretch us, that push us outside of our comfort zone, that get us to that next stop or next step in our life, that continue to carry us forward. And so you start with these 17 principles. And $17,000 to $100,000. So there's a lot of people listening that would love to have that kind of trajectory, right? Was there one principle that started you out, that got you out of the gate, that you said that it was like that aha?
Yeah, it was principle 1, think $1 million. So I never even had considered like what $1 million even looked like, or what would constitute for $1 million, because obviously $1 million in the bank is that I could do just through flips, but I never considered it. Right. I never considered like own that much real estate, have a 30 or 40% equity position, sell it all. There's $1 million in the bank. But I didn't want $1 million in the bank because I wouldn't be useful. I wanted passive income from that $1 million. But by thinking about it, I was able to work my way back to, okay, well, I'm here. What's the steps to get there? That was the first principle that really, that it's the first one. You can't get around it. You've got to think $1 million in order to make $1 million.
Yeah.
And then the second principle,
right? Yeah, you get what you think about so many times in life, and is that if your mind is constantly on the negative or constantly on the small part, and where a lot of people I see get stuck is that since they've never had the $1 million, right? They don't know how, they don't even think about having the $1 million, right? And so their mind, when the goal starts, it's like a New Year's resolution. You're like, I'm going to lose 57 pounds, but you've never lost a pound before, right? And so you're like out of the gate, you've already set yourself up for failure because your mind doesn't know how to process this effect, right? And so your mind just goes in panic mode and then you stop, right? And so that stops other people just getting out of the gate. So you get yourself, you start thinking like $1 million. What'd you do next?
So actually, wealth principle 2, choose $1 million business. Choose a business that has proven to become $1 million for somebody else. And if it's in your market, even better, because you're like with real estate, we're very focused locally. I started looking around. I said, man, like who are the most wealthy people in the area? They're real estate investors. And then I looked and I said, well, how much real estate would it take to get there? And I made the mistake everybody else makes is, oh, I don't have the money for the first down payment. And
Hmm.
that like stopped me for months. But until like, then I just said, well, let's just pretend I found the money. Like, and that's a secret is let's just pretend you had all the money, you had all the labor, had all the deals. Then how many would you need? Is likely to get, say, what would it take to get 20% equity? And so 20% equity means you have to have $5 million worth of real estate. So, okay, then I had a goal. I knew I had to go and buy $5 million worth of real estate. And I never actually did that before I became a millionaire. I own $10 million worth of real estate now, but going into it, I was just happy with, the first house and the second house and the third house, because I knew they were adding up to eventually 5 million.
Sometimes that's the one thing that keeps a lot of people on the sidelines. They're thinking that they need like this 0 to 100 mentality. I have to be at 100 out of the gate. So the first thing I do, I'm going to be, because you get stuck, you look at like an Instagram or something else. Everybody's got fancy cars, big mansions, and you assume that's what it is, right? So because I haven't done that, right, you just don't start. But it's the step, right? It's that first step. You get that first house, right, and that makes it real. And then the second one happens, and that makes it more real. And then the third one happens. You're like, that's even more real. Now your mind's going the right direction. You look back and you say, oh, look at this, $10 million in real estate. Had that happen? It didn't happen from nothing to $10 million, right? It was the piece, whether it was a couple $100,000 houses, $50,000 houses, $1 million houses. It was steps that got you to that journey. So as you've continued to build this out, you've built this out into 52 principles. How are you determining or identifying, the principles to add or directions to go that will help people to this goal of $1 million?
I like that. So what I did is I broke them out into 4 different basic principles. One is mindset, which you're heavy in, you understand. I think it's a key to being successful in any business, but real estate is very heavy in mindset because it's simple. Like real estate is simple, but it's not easy to mentally stay engaged and do this for the long term.
Yeah, well
The
said.
second one is marketing, right? Like you can't find deals without marketing. You can't find money without marketing. And then the third one is sales. You've got to be able to negotiate and sell either the seller on selling the property to you, or sell a lender on lending to you, or sell your contractor on doing the deal quickly and at a discount and correctly. So selling was really important. And then the fourth principle is business sense. You've got to make sure the numbers make sense. You got to analyze all these deals and make sure that they're done properly. So it's 4 basic categories that the 52 wealth principles fit in. And I have them done out in quarters where it's, these first 13 are a peppering of the first level of each 4 of those principles. Then the next 13 are the peppering in of the next level to those 4 principles, the 4 basic concepts. So it's broken out over time so that throughout the year, you're implementing every one of those fully into your business. You have a whole week to implement each principle fully into your business. But the next year, the business has grown. So you got to go back and do it again.
Yeah. And you're helping them build the foundation to strengthen, right? And so many times, we teach people multifamily, they want to get out of the gate and get all these things and have all this stuff happen, but they're just basically throwing darts because they don't have the foundation to have the built-in basis for what they want and why they want it, right? So we hear a lot in our field, like, I want 1,000 units, and that sounds good, right? I guess that sounds good. But why? Like, what is that going to accomplish for you, right? Maybe you need 30 units, right? You just hear this thing, or maybe, for your goal, you need 5,000 units. We don't know because we're throwing out someone else's goal or someone else's dream. We're not identifying, okay, I want cash flow. I want enough cash flow to cover my expenses. And then have $1,000 left over each month. So maybe that looks like I need $5,000 a month or $7,000 a month. Okay, so how does that equate to units, right? And we get away from building the foundation because we want the quick results, right? And we like we know in most stuff, like when you have the quick results, what happens? You usually have the quick losses too, right? Because it's not built in, there's no foundation there. So you have your principles, and 13 weeks, that's a commitment. And I like that because now that's 13 of 52. But people, when they do this, they're doing it, right? Because they're doing the work. And I'm sure as they go through this, they may not see the massive change within themselves, but you're here on the other side, right? And you're watching this, and you're looking, 20 weeks in, 30 weeks in, right? You're talking about transformation that you can see across people.
It's absolutely crazy to watch it. I think it's the best part about teaching, giving back. Yes, we absolutely, we love what we do, but watching the students take it is where the money's at. We have one woman in particular who never had no right by any means to be in real estate, right? She was a stay-at-home mom. She had no experience in real estate, and yet she started coming to the courses, and we were like, okay, like, you're here, we're going to teach, we're going to deliver. And she implemented and implemented and implemented. And one day she messages me on Facebook saying, I called a seller and he was really bullying me. And I was more impressed that she picked up the phone and called a seller. So I picked her the phone myself and said, hey, this is what you say, what you do. 3 months later, she closed on her first property with no money out of pocket because she raised the capital. She did everything we teach. And now she's doing a flip. And every so often she'll message me saying, hey, the contractor is taking advantage, but like, that's great. Like, all the problems mean that you can ask questions. If you're not asking questions, you're not taking action.
Yeah. I mean, without, it's people usually get stuck in that thought process, but without action, inaction never trumps action, right? So there's never a point here where we just sit here and do nothing and think about it forever that we get to our goals, right? And so it's the action that takes you. And like you said, right, she's had some small roadblocks that come up, but that's led her to better questions and having mentorship around you and lead you to better solutions, right? And we have to understand that the problem, right, or the goal in life is to solve bigger problems. That's everything, right? If we don't like where we are, then find bigger problems to solve, right? There's no one out there who's accomplishing big things that's not solving a problem that's somewhat exceeding other problems that other people are trying to just avoid.
Jason, that's one of the wealth principles. Solve problems for rich and successful people. People who have a lot of money have problems that they don't want to fix themselves, but they want fixed. Those are the ones that pay the most. So that's you nailed it. And with this woman, she is solving a problem for a end buyer, somebody who's got pre-approved for maybe a $350,000 house. So they don't have the money themselves, but they have the down payment and the financing. So the bank is the money. So now she's just going to go create a product that they want, that they're looking for, that move-in turnkey property.
So how do you move from the mindset to the marketing? What's the transition look like?
So marketing is something nobody wants to do. Nobody wants to go out there, put their brand out or get their face out, especially social media. Nobody likes to spend the money on advertising. Nobody wants to go and do those things, but you have to create a marketing strategy. Wealth Principle 13 is build a contagious culture in your business and marketing. So if you can make marketing part of your routine and make it contagious, so you just keep doing it and your community does it for you, then marketing, cost goes down and fun level goes up. So you start doing it. And in that training, we talk about how to create that contagious culture. In fact, I do a book of the week. So each week with each principle, I attach a book, and that book just happens to be Contagious, which is a marketing book. So
that's awesome. Yeah. You think, raising capital, I heard someone talk about one time, there's usually three components. Have someone know you, like you, and trust you, right?
Yes.
However, if you think about it, like you would think like the trust is the most important part, but there is no trust if no one knows you, right? You have to get people to know you. And if you are not known, then it doesn't matter if they could like or trust you because they don't know you to like or trust you, right? So, and with so much things with social media, we think we have to go there and show off, right? But it's really, we're documenting what we're doing. We're helping others with the path too, right? Because it's not so much about us. We're also documenting what we're doing because there's someone out there that's in that same position that doesn't want to ask that question, right? And we usually have that bridge and gap where we assume that everybody's so far ahead of us, right? But typically, everybody's one step ahead of us or one step behind us, right? There's not this as big of a gap as we think, right? And it's just the gap, right? And the gap is these small things, right? That we haven't figured out the question for. And so with these principles, right, it gives you the steps to get to good questions. And that's fantastic. So as we leave marketing, we move into sales. What does that generate?
So sales are everything. Life is sales, right? Like you won Peely over by selling her that you were a great investment. And by being a good, being known, right? Being known, likable, and trustworthy is the secret to sales. But there's a lot of communication involved that goes into that. So you can be a trustworthy person, you can be a likable person, and you can be a known person, but selling means you got to open your mouth and let people know. And you've got to show that you're that you're worthy of their investment in time or money or in the relationship. And communication is so forgotten in today's age. And it's not just today's age. It's always been something that workers, people who are told, go get a job, work hard, do this thing, have never valued. They never realized that selling is actually how you get promoted in that company, not by working harder. And selling is how you own the company or finance the company or buy the next deal. It's not actually how hard you work. And one of the problems is we all went through the gurus that said, you got to work hard. The truth is you've got to work hard at communicating well with more people. The hard work that even they do is communication correctly and with the right people.
Yeah, it's huge, right? And that's what these principles, I can see it, right? Mindset to marketing to sales and lead you through is that you can take action, but if your action isn't targeted or at least in a funnel of the right direction, right, then it's all for naught, right? Lots of times we find ourselves taking a lot of action each day, but it's a list of 50 to do things that of which none of them are high priority. It's the 51st thing you should be doing, but because you're funneled in the wrong way or you're looking at the wrong direction, you're focusing on these things that are in your mind may be important, but if you didn't do them, the world wouldn't stop. But if you do that hard thing, the 51st thing, that's the thing that needs to happen today. And if that happens today, that's going to drive you forward. The other things you're just checking off the box, right? Did I get up, right? Did I make toast or whatever it is, right? Like, okay, yeah, check, check, check. But did I call that broker? Right? Did I speak to that investor? Did I, underwrite that property? Did I go out and drive to look for a house? Right? So those are the things that usually we put at the bottom of the list, and we're like, oh, I don't have time because we forgot to focus on the main thing. Right? So these are fantastic. So we go mindset, we go marketing, go sales, and that leads us to the final chapter, which is
business sense.
Yeah.
Which ties into both of what you were just saying. There's a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller, which I think most entrepreneurs have read or should read. And in that book, he says his statement, his focusing question, which is, what is the one thing such that by doing it, everything else is easier or unnecessary? And I realized when I was 14 years old, I was sweeping a floor of a warehouse. And my manager would come in and he would be upset that, certain pallets weren't organized or certain things weren't done, but I never got a compliment on the sweeping of the floor. And what I recognized is one day I really went hard on sweeping the floor, and I spent like almost an hour and a half on sweeping this entire warehouse floor. And I got yelled at for spending too much time on the floor. And I realized that the effort that I put into the wrong task didn't reward me. But I could do a menial task that was exactly what he wanted, and I would get praised.
Huh. That's funny, right? Because sometimes we just have our energy set in a direction where we're not thinking about the overall big picture of our actions, right? And sometimes, and all times, right, our big results are the series of small actions, right? And so when we think about, okay, my big result, and we focus on the big result, right? So, maybe with the job back in the warehouse, you were hoping to, get enough money to do whatever, go to the movies, who knows, right? But it was the point of just doing, these things, these little tasks, right? If I'm spending too much in the wrong task, right, it's not accomplishing the goal to get me the money I want to be able to do what I want in my life at that time.
Exactly. And in business, there's wealth principle 3 is, early on, we talk about business sense. It's understand the 4 types of money. So the 4 types of money are flow, profit, equity, and income. And most people know about income and maybe they've heard about equity, but my brother, who, has known me his entire life, and I've been building this empire for the last 13 years, he had no clue what equity was. He asked me maybe a year ago to define equity for him, which, if you're listening, you don't know what it is. Equity is the difference between your asset value and your debt on the asset. It is what everything you own combined adds up to. It's your net worth. But in an asset, it would be called your equity. And then flow is another one that we're all familiar with, but we don't think about it. Flow is the money that comes into the business and out of the business every month. So I look at South Coast Capital, we've got a flow of about $30,000 a month that you would never let that bank account go under that number, because the money's coming in, it goes out, it goes in, it goes out, and you expect that you can't take that money out because that's flow. The cash flow, which everybody understands, is actually profit. Profit is money that is made that you did not have to work for. It's profit that comes from a business, or cash flow is also profit. These are things that you weren't involved to make, but what everybody focuses on is income. Income. Oh, I made income. This is how much I earned last year. It's my income. Dude, forget income. I want equity. I want more flow. I want more profit. Those are the things that I didn't have to work for. And I know that my income, my profit is a function of my flow. The more flow I've got going out, the more money I'm spending on marketing, the more money I'm spending on servicing and doing the job, the more profit I'm going to take from the business.
Yeah, and the flows is like, that's the most important piece right here, because you can look at income. Like I made 100K last year, but I spent 110. Right. So right now I'm -10. Right. And so you look at that and you say, okay, but the hard work is looking at yourself and being realistic, because right now maybe you're making 26 and you don't want to be making 26. Right. But you're not thinking that you're spending 35. Right. When you really maybe need to be spending 18 because you're spending 17K on just stuff that's not ancillary items. Right. And so you have, but that's the hard thing. Right. Because we live in a life right now where we're comfortable with what we have, but we want more, but we have to look back and pull back the comfort, right? So maybe Netflix, that's $180 has to go, right? Who knows? Like maybe we got to pull out some of these things right now that's going to keep us comfortable, keep us where we are, but it's not going to get us to where we want to go, right? So these core principles align us for that. So Gualter, man, I love this stuff, right? There's the 4 parts, right? Mindset, marketing, sales, business, right? And those are drivers for everybody. And you can equate this. We talked, we really kind of target towards real estate, but you can do this for anything, right? You can put this in any capacity here. 52 principles, right? 52 wealth principles that take you to the next level. So talk to us about the free course you do. Talk to us about how people can find out more about that.
Yeah, the free course is easy to get. It's ibuildmillionaires.com. You just go register, name, email. We'll shoot you the links for every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I Build Millionaires was something that it was my affirmation. I said, hey, I build millionaires. This is what I do. I wear the shirt, 100 millionaires, every day to remind myself. I drink out of the cup to remind myself of what I'm doing here. And for anybody who wants to get involved, it's about 30 minutes a Saturday. Like if you can't spend 30 minutes on a Saturday to become a millionaire, you don't want it bad enough, right? I only want motivated people who I want to chill with. Why is it 100 millionaires? Well, 100 millionaires means I'm going to hang out with people and go on vacations that are worth going on, right? If I say, hey, my event is in Jamaica and nobody can make it, well, it's going to be a lonely event. So awesome. But you want to hang out and network with people who are killing it, who are crushing it, doing things. And that's why, the community is growing. We started with 10 people who were interested. Now we're up to 150 people, and we're stacking in these members who are showing up over and over. And they're now partnering with each other, Jason. They're partnering. Some are bringing the deals. Some are doing the work. Some are bringing the property or the money. And it's like crazy, because you would think a community full of people who are looking to be real estate investors, get to the next level, wouldn't have all the money. But it also attracts millionaires and multimillionaires who are like, I want to learn more about real estate, but I don't want to do the work.
Yeah, the energy is infectious, right? And that's what it is. So,
and we're bringing in wholesalers and agents who understand how to get the deals, but they don't want to do the labor piece yet, or they don't want to close on their own stuff. They just want to really make up their income. They're stacking up income, which brings me to an important point. Everybody should own a business. Everybody should own a business. That's the first step to real estate investing. Get a stream of income so that you can go and buy those really easy deals. So you can have some sort of money while you're doing your flip, while you're getting your property stabilized. And the first 6 months on a new cash flow property doesn't make money. It takes money. Like that stabilization can be 6 months, a year. On syndications, it can be 2 to 3 years. Some of these big projects. So it's like you've really got to have some sort of steady income that you can walk away from, that doesn't take all your time, so that you can walk away and start developing yourself, start learning, start getting to the next level. You won't do big deals until you get rid of your job, but you can't get rid of your job until you got passive income. So building a business and then automating the business, you learn it, do it, teach it, delegate it, automate it. Like that third step is so imperative. Most people will just try to trade incomes. I'm working 40 hours here. I want to trade to do 40 hours here. Well, you're going to work 40 hours in
one area, broom sweeping in another area, right? And so
right, broom sweeping at another building, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to work 40 hours at a job, and you're going to become self-employed and now have to work 80 to 120 hours a week for a short period of time if you do it right. But if you go into that self-employed job and you do 80 hours for 2 or 3 years, you messed up. You didn't build it right because you forgot automate. And that's the part most entrepreneurs forget, most real estate investors forget. And they talk about bigger pockets all the time. You got analysis paralysis, and then you forget to hire a property manager. Those are the two main characters, right? It's analysis paralysis, killing everybody from doing deals. And then when they do start doing deals, it's not hiring out, not automating, not scaling or delegating or teaching somebody who's going to manage the properties for you. And so you stop, you hit another wall. But if you can get past those two principles and just take action and trust other people, train other people, teach other people to build your business for you, the business grows by itself.
Love that. Gualter, this is awesome, man. So ibuildmillionaires.com. Love the action you're taking. Thank you for helping so many people. Can't wait to see this continue to magnify 150 to 350 to 700, right? And you'll see this grow and grow and grow, because the energy, when the energy continues, right? And it's the growth, right? So it's the compound effect, right? And that's what we're seeing here. And this is why this is so powerful here. So well done, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Super appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate you, brother. Cheers to your success.
Thank you. Same to you. And everyone listening here, go out there, take action. You heard it today. You can take 52 principles and take massive action. 30 minutes a week. Everybody has that. So talk to you shortly.
And if you haven't gone and written a review on the podcast, go on to iTunes. Jason and Peely love your positive reviews.